Hi there. So we got a new 5 sheet today. Something from, what are these? JACOBIN. Alright. Headline as they write it. A new Congressional Budget Office study shows that Medicare for all would save hundreds of billions of dollars annually. So, that is a fact. Not too much editorialization there. Maybe you say that shows should be projects, but I'm going to leave it as a fact. Not much in the way of editorialization. I paraphrased it as a study from the Congressional Budget Office projects that Medicare for all would save billions of dollars. Known bias Jacobin is a left leaning outlet. Alright, the thesis is boop boop boop. Right here near the beginning. It's second half of this first paragraph, and concludes that replacing would ensure while reducing overall health spending. That's the thesis. It's pretty fact-based too. I paraphrased it. The study finds that Medicare for all would reduce health spending while ensuring every person. There we go. Now, the evidence, they have a couple little quotes in here, like, plucked a couple numbers out, 42 billion. There's this other one, boom, boom, few other quotes, and then they have these two tables, that one there, that one there. So that's the main evidence. Uh, I doubt they're lying about this. This is not really a controversial thesis. They're just saying this study said that. So they're probably right about that. Uh, Now, let's get into how the article was structured. Started out in that first paragraph with the thesis, and then they explain how the model used in that analysis was structured. It's structured with these 3 questions, and, CBO answered them, blah, blah, blah. So then explains the results of the model. Uh, this is still explaining the results in here. And then it starts getting into some of the more details, some of the more detailed analysis. It talks about the administrative costs right here, spends a while going into this, and how it compares their administrative cost analysis to these other ones. Like, they came up with 1.5 to 1.8 versus higher numbers that these other institutions had done their had estimated the administrative costs at. So they go on talking about the administrative costs and arguing it, rebutting that for a while. And then the final paragraph right here, when they conclude it, they're saying, so based on all this, the only thing to holding it up are politics, right? The barriers to this policy are not technical deficiencies or costs, but rather political opposition from, blah, 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 blah. Alright, so that is the structure of their article. Let's move on to the named deception tactics here. Let's see what they were employing. First of all, intentionally confusing. This article was not designed to be understood by a lay person. Someone who's not statistically trained, someone who doesn't know how to read a budget or understand, health insurance at an expert level. You're talking about, 42 to 743 billion in 2030 alone. Oh, just in 2030. I thought he was talking about 2032. That changes everything. And then, oh, well, you see, this one's only, they added the long-term support and services here to produce a fifth cost estimate. That really changes my understanding of the issue. And, there's all this very detailed, I don't even know if it's really detailed. It's, superfluously detailed, superfluous details here that are just sort of meant to bludgeon you with, to the point where you're not meant, the average reader of this article is not intended to read each of these things and really understand it. You're not meant to walk away remembering what was this? Long-term support and services. You're not meant to walk away from this article remembering how the long-term support and services affected that fifth cost estimate. You're just supposed to get overwhelmed by all these different factors, all these different numbers, all these different ways to think about it, that you end up throwing up your hands and saying, well, geez, this stuff's so complicated. Good thing are those experts at the CBO putting together this analysis for me. So that's intentionally confusing. Straw man feigning ignorance. This is where you fail to present a known argument or material fact that the other side has. In this one, they're saying, based on this whole article talking about the cost of Medicare for all, now we know the only reason they're not passing it is because of, political opposition. And they do not bring up what is probably the most commonly cited argument against Medicare for all, except maybe the cost. The two most commonly cited arguments are the cost and the quality of care. Not everyone on Medicare likes the quality of care. Not everyone likes getting the generics all the time. Some people don't react as well to the generic drugs. Some people complain about long wait times, not getting to see the right specialist, whatever. There are complaints about that. Maybe if we did get on Medicare for all, everything would work out great. Maybe those complaints are overinflated, but it is part of the discussion. That's one of the most common arguments you see on the other side, and it's not even mentioned in this article. So that's definitely a straw man feigning ignorance. So, statistics lacking context. I mean, you could say there's a number of these throughout, all these different little numbers, little percentiles here and there. Maybe you could say those aren't context well enough. But really, this whole big article is just one big statistics lacking context. I mean, this is just about one study. It's about this CBO projection. They looked at it, they built a model, they're guessing how much this would guess under different scenarios. This is not proof that it would cost that much. This is not, this does not give us some kind of certainty that whatever the CBO is projecting would be more accurate than what Rand projected, what Thorpe projected, what Urban projected, what that other urban projection was, what this, I can't read that, buy a house, whatever. All these other projections listed in this table here, those are still other projections. Maybe those ones will be right. This is just one more study to add to the list to be considered. This didn't prove all those other ones wrong. It's not like it's more correct because it came out more recently. This is this is just another projection. It's another organization took a bite at the apple. Maybe their estimate is better. Maybe their estimate is worse. But the way it was presented in this article was like, hey, we got the numbers now. All these other ones that, people have been studying this for decades, you can throw those ones out because now we have the real numbers. But it's like, no, this is just another estimate you can throw in with the others. And this will help us make a more informed decision, but it's not revolutionary. Alright, moving on to our final note here. What were these guys trying to do? I really did get the vibe here that this was written by someone who was just a Medicare for all advocate, and they saw this study. They're like, oh, great. This will help me argue my point better. This supports the position that I already held. And they just used that lens. They grabbed this piece of evidence, this new CBO study, and they wrote up this article. They didn't look at the study from both sides. They didn't look for strengths and weaknesses. They didn't do a deep dive. It was just, oh, cool. How can this study help me continue to make my point on behalf of Medicare for All? And that's the article they wrote. Cool, guys. This wasn't too long of an article, but there very well could have been some stuff I missed in here. So if you think you could do a better job, fill out a 5 sheet. There will be a link in the description, and I'll see you shortly.